Then I saw some more viewers creep in, which is pretty good. And if I figure out how to clip this video and export it to YouTube, I should put it on my YouTube channel so it can be immortalized there forever. So that after I die next month, um, you guys can all watch it. I'm not dying next month. Well, actually, there's no guarantees that I'm living, so I guess I can't say I'm not dying. So, yes, get the notes ready. I guess I'll give a semi-formal introduction for anybody who is new to this channel who's watching this series, because we did advertise it on Reddit, r/bridge, the world's greatest subreddit, second after Circle Jerk. But my name is Bridge Overlord 201. That's not my real name. My real name is actually out there in the open, so I guess I'll just say it. It's Matt Weingarten. I don't even care. Don't dox me. My BBO ID is Cool Beans. You might know me by the nickname Beans. You might know me best as that flash in the pan who won the 2019 NAP Flight A before flaming out and getting a star revoked on BBO. Yes, that happened. But either way, I am happy to be leading a bidding series because a lot of people have been pining. We'll get into that story some later time. It's not for the moment, okay? Just don't even ask. I shouldn't have brought it up. All right. Anyway, a few people have been pining for me to do some series on like talking about bidding, defense, and so on and so forth. I did them previously on this channel a long time ago, but that was before this Bridge Twitch community really got bumping. So now we have to do it again with an actual audience before what I did it last time with, which was to nobody. So I'm looking forward to covering it again. And in this edition, I think I'm just going to talk about my basic bidding philosophy, my style, what I think works for me, and I'll give plenty of alternatives, and then we'll jump into talking about no Trump and see how far we get. I'm probably going to dice these up into like 45 minutes to an hour long sessions so that I just don't ramble on, because I could ramble on forever. And what I'm going to do is we're not only going to fill out a convention card, but we're going to do more than fill out a convention card. We're going to fill out a convention card, and we're going to talk about every follow-up bid to those conventions. Because I think that's what separates good players from newer players who really just don't know the bidding intricacies of what every bid should mean. You know, in the third round of an auction after you've started the convention, what does this mean? How should your partner interpret it? You know, there's plenty to get out of it. So I am looking forward to talking about it. There is a lot of material. And I guess we're just going to jump into it. So anyway, the basis of what I'm going to talk about today is based on something called system notes. I don't know if anybody's ever heard the term. Hey, what's going on, Southern? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Well, I mean, I can make my card, but you guys can always make a card that you think is better suited for an individual tournament. It's not a bad card, I'm telling you. But system notes anyway. Is what, you know, pairs use to like line out their entire system, every convention they play, what the bids mean, and so on and so forth. And the idea is that you and your partner should memorize that so you don't have bidding screw-ups at the table. That doesn't necessarily always happen. Bidding screw-ups do happen. It's a part of the game. But if you're on the same page, which you should be if you have system notes in place, you minimize those to a very good degree. So I'm going to go through one of my favorite series of system notes. I have a few out there because I play with a few different partners, but I'm going to use the one I use with my regular partner from my home state of Florida. It is the system notes that drove us to a national title that led to my star being removed from BBO. We said we weren't going to get into the story again, but because Turtle's interested, I'm going to re-bring the point up again because it's still one of the greatest injustices that has ever been served on this website's history. All right, enough ranting there. I'm still salty about it if you guys haven't figured that out by now. But we're going to go through it. I'm going to explain everything I am going to talk about the logical alternatives to all those bids. Um, yeah, exactly what Leia said. We're going to talk about alternatives to those bids, why I think these bids work, the pros, the cons, everything in it. I am going to cover in some degree, and I'm going to make sure you guys get that. If you guys have any questions, use the chat. I am reading the chat while I'm doing this. I won't lose my train of thought. I'm pretty good at keeping a solid train of thought despite questions, so feel free to hit me up with anything afterwards if you're watching this video later. Yeah, it only took 5 minutes. Uh, anyway, if you guys have questions later, if you're not watching this live, feel free to send me any questions, and I will do my best to answer them. Anyway, let's get started. Let's just make a convention card and get started with it, and then I will start to dive in to the philosophies of my card, and then so on and so forth. So, time to fill out a new card. The title of this will be Better Bidding Series 2020, and this will be for anybody who plays with Overlord. So, we are going to be playing 2 over 1. 2 over 1 is, you know, you can talk about precision. You can talk about the benefits of your Polish club or whatever other systems you have, but 2 over 1 at the end of the day gets the job done. Yes, there's, some inherent problems in it. Sometimes, depending on your bidding style, you get overboard with 2 over 1, but it is pretty good. It does its job at the end of the day, and I think it's a good beginner's point. Standard American is alright, but Standard American has its holes. It has a lot of holes. 2 over 1 is understandable, and I think is a strong starting point. And if you're not familiar with what 2 over 1 is, the basic crux of 2 over 1 is that a non-jump bid after a 1-level opening is game forcing. So like 1 diamond, 2 clubs, or 1 heart, 2 of anything except raising the major, or like jumping over that suit if it's like 1 heart, 2 spades. They're all game forcing bids. You can stop maybe in 4 of a minor, but you're not stopping below 3-0 with that, or you shouldn't be. I know some people play 2 over 1 is game forcing except when the suit is rebid. That's not a bad system. I'm not a huge fan of it. I just like straight up game forcing, so I'm checking that box off. Very light. The definition of very light is something I don't really like. We open light when it's right. Third seat is a good opportunity to open light if you have a major, because you take up a lot of bidding room for the opponents. They can't get their overcall in at the 1 level, and you might freeze them out if you do it. And you also have conventions to handle it. I don't like opening light with a minor in third seat, because you really haven't served your purpose, because it's very easy for them to overcall with 1 of a major. And the only thing you're doing is potentially leading to a bad contract for you and your partner. There's some times when it's right, if you have the lead directing bid, like let's say your whole hand is like a jack of something, and you have ace, king, queen, 4th or something of a suit. That I could understand, because you want the lead on the table. And lead directional bids have a lot of merit to them. But besides that, I'm not a huge fan of light openings in third seat except for majors, so I won't even check any of these boxes off, because I think the definition of very light is beyond what light is typically in third seat. It's like less than 10 points. And I don't bring out those openers too often unless I'm tilting, or I think I need to for a certain purpose. The forcing opening, the only one we have is 2 clubs, because we're playing a standard system. Alright, so before I get into anything with talking about the rest of this card, I will just give an idea of what this system entails as I go into depth on it. The idea with this system is that it's based around being conservative bidding in theory. In my partnership with this person who I'm referring to, I am the conservative bidder. That's what I am in every partnership. That's my style. D-Lev has roasted me a gazillion times on this channel for being a conservative bidder, and I can use some improvement in that department. I'm not going to lie, but I think it actually is pretty solid. If your partner is a bit extraneous on their bidding, it's good to have a conservative bidder in there to balance it out, because you don't want 2 crazy bidders, or else you're just going to be playing everything at the V8 levels of the bidding scale instead of playing in part scores. Part scores matter too, So that's where we go. That's how I think about it. Uh, I'm not one for opening all 11 counts. I open 11 counts if it's ace, king, ace. But besides that, I really don't open 11 counts. I know that's becoming more of a style, but that's not my thing. I almost open every 12 count. Most 12 counts deserve to be opened. There are certain ones that are terrible, and I wouldn't open them. But almost every other one, you have to. The reason being that you're going to lose out against the field in the long run if you don't open it. Because the field is opening most 12 counts, and you want to stay with the field if you can, for the most part. There are certain times to go anti-field, but at the end of the day, you probably want to be opening what the rest of the field is going to be opening. So most 12 counts deserve being opened. Certainly all 13s do. Yeah, that one that P. Mingala pointed out is a piece of junk. That's not even a 12 count. It has 12 high card points, but it's worth a lot less without any quick tricks. I don't use the rule of 20 per se because I'm not someone who opens 6, 4, 10 counts at the one level. I think that's a bit crazy. I think it's not a bad guideline. I think the rule of 22 is a better guideline than the rule of 20. Let's not go so far as to say they should be shot. I don't think we should be resorting to violence for CERN. This is a PG channel, if you haven't got the memo. But yeah. Yeah, we won't point out the hypocrisy in that statement. Where was I? Where was I? So, yeah, it's based around just being conservative in nature. I think it wins in the long run. Of course, you want to stay with the field, but if it's close, I'm probably going anti. Yeah, rule of 22. I'm sorry. Rule of 22 is a good improvement on the rule of 20 because it not only takes into account the rule of 20, but it also takes into account quick tricks, which are important. Shut up, okay? You guys, when I'm having to calm down Recern, I lose my train of thought. Okay, so for starters on the rule of 20, the idea is you count your high card points, and then you add the length of your two longest suits. And if that sums up to be 20 or more, you should probably be opening the hand. So like a 6-4-10 count meets the rule of 20. A 7-4-9 count meets the rule of 20, although I disagree with that. But technically, if you play that rule, you should be opening that hand. Some people get into a lot of trouble with that rule, which is why I think the rule of 22 is an improvement on it, which is not only the rule of 22, but it takes into account quick tricks. If you guys don't know what quick tricks are, they are tricks that are ready to be cashed immediately, like aces, or king-queens, or kings, which are worth half a trick, and so on and so forth. Things that can eventually develop into cards. Now, that hand that P. Mingala pointed out earlier with the Queen Jacks has barely any quick trick value. So, despite being a 12 count, doesn't meet the rule of 22. Now, change that to be an ace and an ace-king along with a jack, that's a much better 12 count. That hand that Geek is pointing out is a much better 10 count. And that is closer opening than probably that 12 count. Yeah. So the idea being that you should have a hand that you can look yourself in the mirror with afterwards and say it deserved to be opened is how I like to think about it. So that's core principle number 1 of my system. Core principle number 2 is that you should make every bid count. There's a lot of places in the convention card where there can be some redundancy. There's a lot of times where 2 bids can mean the same exact thing, and you're not sure which you should use. But I think you should try to reduce redundancy as much as possible and maximize every bid's value. So that's why the system will be a little bit in depth, is because I really want to make every bid count and translate messages to my partner that they can interpret and use to differentiate between had I made a different bid. Every bid should have a meaning. You should be telling a story in the bidding because you're not talking in the bidding. So you should be able to translate a story to your partner so you know how to get to an optimal contract. Alright, I think I've been on the soapbox far enough. Let's get into it. So we're going to start. I don't know how long or how far we're going to get through this. It's going to be a work in progress, but we're just going to start with the no trump section and then go from there. So The first thing I'm going to talk about is my no trump range. For some of you who have seen this channel before, you'll see in some of my partnerships I play a 15 to 18 no trump, which is obviously a different range than the standard. And now we can talk about whether I think this is a good thing or not. I think it has its advantages. I think 15 to 18 no trump is actually not a bad idea at match points for a few reasons. Reason number one is because let's say your partner opens in a minor and you have like a 4 or 5 count and you feel like you should respond with one of a major in case you have a fit. Now your partner jumps to 2-0 and you're sweating bullets because you don't think you can make 2-0. If you play 15 to 18, when your partner jumps to 2-0, they are going to have usually 19 points, or a good 18 that they're treating as 19. The standard no trump range in ACBL world is 15 to 17. That is what you're going to hear everywhere in these days in literature and everything. I think 15 to 17 is fine. I am not disparaging it. I think it's actually what I'm going to use when I fill out this card here. But I'm going to talk about why I think a 15 to 18 is not a crazy idea. So with that jump to 2-0 being a good 18 or 19 points, you know, if you responded on a 4 or a 5 count, you have a much better chance of making 2-0, and you might not get buried for your response. So that's a good reason to do it. Another reason I think it's not a bad idea is, you know, I think there's a lot of 18 versus 7s in bridge. And, you know, when I talk about 18 versus 7, I'm talking about 18 points versus 7 points. And, you know, everybody thinks, or everybody says, you know, with 25 points between you and your partner, you have a valid chance of making 3-0. And that certainly is the case. But I think in the long run, I've seen a lot of 18 versus 7s that struggle to make 3-0 trump. If you don't have caching tricks, it's going to be a dogfight. Now, there's plenty of 18 versus 7s that can, but it's not so easy. So I think there is a plus to be had there. So the idea is that with a 7 count versus a 15 to 18 no trump opener, unless we're transferring or bidding some form of Stayman, we're just going to pass and hope it works. It may not. We might make 3, and we might go minus. But I've seen it work more often than not in the time that I've been playing it, so I'm not against it. The disadvantage with 15 to 18 is if you play 15 to 17 and you have a pretty terrible 8 count, you like to generally pass. Yeah, that's the point I'm about to get to, Ping Mingala. With 15 to 17, there's a lot of 8 counts you actually want to pass 1-0 with because they just don't have the hand value to be making 3-0. And usually you do well by that. You might make only 2. Heck, you might even make 1 on the right day. So it does well to pass. But when you're playing with 15 to 18, you really can't afford to be passing a lot of 8 counts. I've done it only a handful of times because, you know, if your partner has 18, you're risking missing game if you pass. You know, you really got to pick your battles. How could someone know what a good 8 count is and what isn't? Well, for starters, opposite a no trump opener, having a 4-card major is a good start to having a quality 8 count as long as a suit isn't, you know, completely terrible. Because if you have a fit, you might want to be in 4 of a major instead of no trump. You know, if you've got spot cards, it's good. Spot cards 9 and 10s, they're very helpful. You know, if it's just something like Queen Jacks and a bunch of like 7s and 6s, it's not nearly as good, and it's probably worth being passed. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, there are some 8 counts that you want to pass with 15 to 18, but you risk missing game by doing it, so you really can't, which is one of its biggest disadvantages. So, if I was going to say which one I prefer, I'm going to say 15 to 18, but I'm going to say it's close. And so, for that reason, I'm going to go with 15 to 17, and we're going to play a standard no trump range. I just wanted to explain my reasoning because I know there are a lot of viewers who have watched my videos before where I'm playing 15 to 18 and will say, well, why are you doing that if you don't do that normally? Well, I don't do it normally, but the more I think about it, the more I think the old way might have been right. I keep going back and forth. It's a never-ending battle. Okay. Next box is I'm going to check off that we open 5-card majors with 15 to 17. I think it is very helpful to tell your partner with the 5-card major what your no trump, what the range on your hand is, and you shouldn't feel discouraged. You know, opening one of a major has a very wide range to it. It could be from as little as 11 points all the way up to like 21. You're working on using deep learning to make a bidding system from scratch. I'm looking forward to what that system entails. That could be revolutionary, honestly. Then again, so was the Survivor Series, so I'm pretty sure that Turtle just does kick-ass things. The 5-card major, I think, is useful to open one no trump because it limits the range of your hand. It gives a clear message to your partner on what you have. Sure, there are hands where you may not want to open one no trump with a 5-card major, like if your hand is heavily concentrated in that suit. If you have doubletons and they're bad, it's also not a good thing. But at the end of the day, I generally open 5-card majors, one no trump. To talk about some more on my no trump opening style, I know there's a lot of discussion about what types of balanced hands should be open one no. 5-4-2-2. If the doubletons are decent, if it's like king dub and queen dub or something, I'm probably opening it a no trump. Part of the reasoning for that is I also play the hand generally well compared to the field. So, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, that's completely fine. But I feel like at the end of the day, showing that information to your partner and limiting the range on your hand is a big win. 6-card minors. 6-card minors aren't terrible either if it's the right hand. 6-3-2-2s have plenty of plus side to being open one no trump as opposed to going through one of a minor. This is not going to be forever. Actually, it probably will. I hope you guys are here for the next 80 hours. I think it's just better to open those 6-card minors one no trump than either making a light or a heavy 2 rebid or a light 3 jump. I think there's a lot of plus side to opening the 6-card minors one no. So I generally do that. 4-4-4-1. I'm not a big fan of the singletons. I'm not a big fan of opening singletons one no. If I have to, if it looks like it's the perfect description of my hand, maybe, but I can pretty easily bid my hand out without fear in opening with a 1-level bid besides one no trump and getting to show the picture of my hand. Yeah, I guess if my partner, I got a stiff spade and I'm 4-4-4 with hearts, diamonds, and clubs, and I open 1 diamond, and my partner bids a spade, I'm kind of boxed in now. That's really the only scenario in which it might be okay to do that with a singleton honor. And I am timing out D-Lev for 40 minutes. Just because this is not the time. I know it's permitted in the ACBL world. I just don't think in the long run that it is a good strategy. There are certain hands that's right for, but I am generally going to be someone who advises against it. I've just seen it backfire so many times. Let's see. What were the rest of these messages? I gotta go through this. 14. Upgrading a 14 count in opening one no. There's various ones that should, but I'm also not a person for doing that very often, especially at match points. At imps, I could see a case for it, but at match points, I'm generally just going to bid with the field and hope the rest takes care of itself. That's my thinking on the no trump range, and I think I'm just going to dive into just the basics of this system today. So, I'm just going to outline what I play over one no trump, because if I outline what I play now, it makes the rest of what I talk about more intuitive than if I didn't describe what I am playing right off the bat. I'm not going to explain all of them today. I am just going to say what they mean, and then we will go through it, and I will get to them and talk more about it. But if I highlight it now, the rest should make more sense, or so I think. So first thing I'll mention is systems is on over double and two clubs. That's standard. Because we play Lebensal, I do not play Stolen Bid. Stolen Bid is not a very good system. If you can understand Lebensal, it is worth its weight in gold. It's one of the better conventions in Bridge. Yeah, I agree. That should be based on partnership discussion, and the only two partners where I've changed that with was after a lot of heated debate. So we're just going to talk about the 2-level today. I'm actually really going to only fixate on Stayman, but I'm going to talk about my 2-level responses just so I can get them off my chest. We play Stayman. We play transfers. 2 spades. 2 spades is either one of two things. It's either what's called a size ask, which is asking your partner to describe whether they opened at the top of their no-trump range or at the bottom of their no-trump range. It's basically invitational. It's either that or it's clubs. Either or. There's a lot of use to that bid. I will go into that when the time comes. And 2 no-trump is either diamonds or it's both minors and weak. Yes, I agree with Scissors' point. If we will talk about no-trump interference probably way later on, like towards the end probably when we talk about interference. But if they're playing the 2 clubs as showing the majors, having a double as Stayman doesn't really make sense. I actually have a defense to it. I will get to that when the time comes. But good point from Scissors raising it now. So, 2 no-trump is either diamonds or both minors weak. So, essentially, we kind of play 4-way transfers in a different way. But the key caveat of this system that I've outlined so far, as opposed to what some people play, like what Gibb plays, is that 2 clubs and then inviting with 2 no-trump promises a 4-card major. It does not deny. It promises. So we will not have that promissory Stayman that got Turtle all salty here. We are playing guarantee Stayman. And I lagged at that point. What is going on? Okay, I think we're back. I just lagged when I did this. That was pretty good. Yes, Turtle hates promissory Stayman. It is, I agree, it's not a good system. Okay, let's talk about our Stayman responses now. And I'm just going to say straight up, with this series, I'm probably not going to be showing a lot of hands. We're not going to really be doing a lot of bidding exercise. I'm just going to talk. I am going to be compiling notes and sharing them in my Discord server, which, by the way, you can find with this magical command. But I'm not really going to go through hands. Yes, it gives partner a way to invite in no trump so that we don't need promissory Stayman. We can instead have guarantee Stayman. So we're not going to go through a lot of hands. I'm just going to talk and explain my bids. And hopefully, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, we can talk about that when the time comes. I know everybody has different thoughts on that. And we can get to that when the opportunity arises. Okay, I'm just going to talk about Stayman today, actually. For the remainder of what I'm going to preach here, I'm just going to fixate on Stayman itself. So there's a bunch of different variants. It essentially is 4-way transfers. It's a little different. It's it's a little different in that you still have the invite without having to know to do it, and you have 4-way transfers so that you can have everything on the table. I think this is one of the best 2-level response structure to one no that you can have. So, Stayman, yes, I agree with Scissors. Stayman is a fantastic convention. There are a bunch of different variations to it other than what people are used to. And I'm going to talk about them. I can give examples of them, and they will all be mentioned in my notes. Yes, Scissors, you're getting on to my next point. So the first type of Stayman is garbage Stayman, which is what Scissors is alluding to. And basically, garbage Stayman is having less than an 8 count, but feeling like the hand doesn't deserve to be played in no trump. Like you're short in clubs. Basically, the whole idea is that you're passing your partner's next bid. Pretty much is all that it's designed to be there. So let's say your shape is 4-4-4-1 and your partner opens 1 no. There's a very good chance your partner is going, actually there's a guaranteed chance that you have a fit in one of the, almost guaranteed, I guess, in one of the in one of your 4-card suits. So with that type of hand, it's very useful to bid 2 clubs, and then when your partner responds, to pass. Most people don't know that, and they stick it out in 1 no trump and wonder why they struggle. Well, garbage Stayman was meant to replace that so that you can get to better contracts when you have those type of hands that can't stand being in no trump and you don't have a transfer available to you if you don't have a 5-card major. That's garbage Stayman. The next type is crawling Stayman. Crawling Stayman is an extension to garbage Stayman. And crawling Stayman is when you have 5-4 in the majors, but you have a weak hand. So let's say you have, I'm online BBO. Let's say you have ace 5th, queen 4th, and then your 2 minor suits are whatever. Your partner opens 1 no trump. Should you transfer? No, because you could have a 4-4 heart fit. Heck, you could have a 5-4 heart fit if your partner opened a 5-card heart suit 1 no trump. So you shouldn't just simply transfer there, which is what the robots do. And I hate that about the robots, that they don't understand this. But with that type of hand, you should bid 2 clubs. And then if your partner responds 2 diamonds, you bid 2 of your 5-card major. And then you stick it out there. If you're 4-5 and you have 4 spades and 5 hearts, you bid 2 hearts. And if your partner has 3 spades and 2 hearts and feel it plays better in your 4-3 as opposed to your 5-2, then they should bid 2 spades. And then if you had 5-4 spades and hearts, you bid 2 spades. And you might have a 4-3 heart fit, but obviously you probably don't want to get to the 3 level here because you have less than an invitational hand. So I think that's a very useful convention. I don't know why the robots don't play it. It is so basic. It is so useful. But for some reason, they don't. Transferring is losing bridge there. Yes, you're showing your longest suit, but you might be missing out on your actual fit there. So that's a very good reason why I like that. And hopefully that makes sense to you guys. That's number 2. Number 3 is actually one that you probably are going to say, wait, how? And I'm going to call this one the funny jump. Funny jumps are kind of these interesting hands. Let's say you have a hand like Jack 4th, 2 small, a singleton, and King empty 6th of clubs, and your partner opens a no trump. What are you going to do? Obviously, you don't want to pass. And in the old school bridge way of thought, you can't have a bid like this. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do here. But basically, what you would have to resort to in the old school bridge mindset is you would have to transfer to clubs, with like your with however you transfer to clubs, and you would have no choice but to pass. And sure, you have a club fit. You're guaranteed to have a club fit. You've got 6 of them. Your partner should have at least 2, as long as they didn't open that with singleton. But you definitely might have missed an actual major suit fit here, and there's no fun in that, right? So what I'm recommending instead is changing a very common bidding sequence and replacing it with something completely different. So 1 no trump. Let's say you have that hand again. I'm about to blow your minds. 1 Jack 4th, 2 small, singleton, King 6th. Your partner opens a no trump. You bid 2 clubs. If your partner bids 2 spades, bingo. You pass, obviously, and you're in your best spot. Now let's say your partner bids 2 diamonds or 2 hearts. Now what do? You bid 3 clubs and it is non-forcing. Your partner is supposed to pass. Now in standard bridge, that's actually forcing, not non-forcing. But I am recommending that you actually play it as that kind of hand because you can actually find your best fit that way. If you have a major suit, you can Stayman without fail. You can't do that if you don't play it because if you were to bid 3 clubs there, it's forcing. So you're making a trade there and having that as weak. Now, to answer the question that's on everybody's minds, well, how do you show a strong hand with a 6-card minor and a 4-card major? Well, with that, you actually transfer into the minor and then bid the major to show your 4-card suit, so that you get both fits on the table. It's a bit of a trade, but it's very powerful. You can show all the types of hands there. I think it actually is worth a lot of weight there. I know it's not the standard, but I think it actually works really well, and I have not had a bad experience with it. So I am leaving that as an option. If you guys don't want to play it, I won't be disheartened, but I think it actually works very well. Okay. Continuing on, the next type of Stayman is what we call extended Texas. Extended Texas is like, and when I say Texas, I'm referring to the Texas transfers, which we're going to check off. So with Ace Queen 4th, King Dub, Stiff, King Jack 6th, what do? I would bid 2 spades. My partner would respond with however they would respond to that bid, which I will get to next week, and I will talk about that hand next week. And then I would bid 3 of my major. Yeah, 2 spades, and then over my partner's bid, I'd bid 3 spades. Exactly. Recern has hit the nail on the head. We are going to talk about that more next week when we talk about the 2-spade bid, but that's exactly what it is. Extended Texas is, let's say you've got a 6-4 hand. Ace Queen 4th, King Jack 6th, and so on and so forth. Most people don't know this. Most people would just like Texas transfer this hand and be done with it. They would bid 4 diamonds because, of course, you definitely have a heart fit. But guess what, guys? If you have a 4-4 fit and you have a 6-2 fit, which one do you think you should play? The 4-4. Why? Because if you play in the 4-4, guess what you can use that 6-card suit for? Discards! Discards are good. And if you're playing in the 6-2, you don't have those discards because you're equal length in your 4-4. So if you play, this, exactly. This is why Recern got a dub with me last night, because he's a genius. So with this extended Texas, like with that hand I just gave you guys, Ace Queen 4th, King Jack 6th, and whatever you have in the minors, you would start with Stayman over 1 no trump. Yeah, you can do it. I goaded it by making the comment. You can hit the command. You can bring up the VOD. I don't even care. You misspelled it. Roughs in either hand too. Yes, exactly. Okay, anyway, before this comment section gets flooded with... Oh, God. Alright, that's one of my quotes, guys. I'm sticking by that quote. I won't step away from that one. I'm taking that one on the chin. Okay, so Ace Queen 4th, King Jack 6th, and then whatever you have in the minors. After 1 no trump, you start with 2 clubs. And then, if your partner bids 2 diamonds, you know what you do? 4 diamonds, Texas transfer. And now you get to play your 6-2 because obviously you don't have a 4-4 spade fit. Now, if your partner responds 2 hearts or 2 spades, you have no problems. But if your partner responds 2 diamonds, you follow up by jumping to a Texas transfer, and then you get to play in your 6-2 or whatever it is without fail. But it gives you the opportunity to find that 4-4 if you actually have it, which is worth its weight in gold. And then the last type of hand with Stayman that is worth mentioning is Smolin. Smolin is, of course, a big one. This is a 5-4 hand where you have a game-forcing hand or better. And you start with 2 clubs, and your partner bids 2 diamonds, and then you jump to 3 of your 4-card suit. Now, the reason you should jump to your 4-card suit is because your partner in most situations should be the declarer here. You can be right-siding the contract, and you're keeping the strong hand concealed. Keeping the strong hand concealed is a core tenet of good bridge, is to make sure that the stronger hand is concealed as often as possible. So that's why you jump to the 4-card suit, so that if you have a 5-3 fit, because you can't have a fit in your 4-card suit when your partner bids 2 diamonds. The only fit you could have is the 5-3. So the reason to jump there into your 4-card suit is that if your partner has 3 cards, the one in which you have 5, you get to play in that fit and they get to be the declarer. A very key principle to successful no-trump bridge. So those are the different types of Stayman: Smolin, Extended Texas, the Crawling Stayman, the Garbage Stayman, and Funny Jumps. I'm going to have all those in my notes, so you won't have to forget about them. So don't worry if you didn't get that all down. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a drink of water, because I'm thirsty, and I've been talking for almost half an hour now. And then when I come back in 15 minutes and piss more excellence all over this place, I'm going to get into some caveats. No, Smolin with an invite does not exist. If you have an invitational hand with a 5-4, I will be getting into that when I talk about transfers. You have that's the one that's kind of hard to bid, is the invitational, but there are ways to handle it. And I do have ways. I always have ways. So I want to talk about one of the caveats with Stayman. We talked about guaranteeing a 4-card major with Stayman. So let's say the auction goes 1 no trump, 2 clubs, and I respond 2 hearts. And let's say you have an invitational hand with 4 spades. Well, my good friend, you now have 2 bids available to you to show the same exact thing. And you know what that means? That means we have redundancy. And you know what we like? You know what people don't like? Redundancy. So we are going to differentiate between what those 2 different bids mean. And that is exactly what my partner and I have done. So, 2 spades is an invite with 4 spades, but it's the junkier of the 2 invites. So, you know how you typically invite on 8 or 9 counts? This would be an 8 count. 2 no trump would be a 9 count. That way, you know when you should be accepting the invite. Like if your partner is bidding 2 spades and you got a 16 count, you probably shouldn't be going. But if they bid 2 no and you have a 16 count, well then it's time to go. So that is a very good situation to remove a redundancy there and have 2 different meanings for 2 different bids. So 2 spades is the weaker of those 2 invites with 4 spades, whereas 2 no is the stronger of the 2. No, this is not 1 no trump 2 hearts. This is 1 no, 2 clubs, 2 hearts. We're still talking about Stayman here. And you know what the cool thing about having 2 spades be the weaker invite is? If your partner actually has 4 spades because they were 4-4 in the majors, they can now pass 2 spades and play it on the 2 level, which is pretty dope. Would that wrong side when the 1 no opener has both majors? Yes, it kind of does. You actually do wrong side it there because if your partner is passing 2 spades because they're minimal and they have 4 spades, you did wrong side it and you're going to end up playing 2 spades. But what's worse? Wrong siding and playing 2 spades or right siding and playing 3 spades? Like, it seems pretty simple to me which one is the better one. So yeah, that's a con, but at the same time, it's not as much of a con as opposed to the pro, which I believe is being able to play 2 spades there. It's not like that wouldn't have been a problem in standard bridge either with the promissory Stayman that the robots play, because in the promissory Stayman, they do the same exact thing. The only difference is 2 no doesn't promise spades, whereas 2 spades does. This time we have spades in both situations. Okay. So, I don't know how much further I should go with this. I've noticed I've talked for about 45 minutes now, which is kind of where I wanted to stop. But I just think, um, because I want to get through Stayman, I'm just going to talk for like the next few minutes on this, because this is really, I think, the last point I need to cover before I've completed Stayman and we can move on. So I'm going to talk about some of the follow-up responses to, a two hearts or a two spade response over Stayman, and you actually have a fit, but you don't only have a fit, but you're looking for something more. So let's say you have like a 13 count with four hearts, and your partner, well, okay, maybe not a 13 count, like a 14 or 15 count, and your partner opens a no trump, and you Stayman, and they bid two hearts, and you're, slam alert, the slam alert emote is firing off. How do you look for that slam at a low level and don't get yourself too carried away? Well, there's a few different ways to do it. The first situation is when you have an unbalanced hand. An unbalanced hand, if you have an unbalanced hand and you are looking for a slam after you've established a fit, you should bid at the 3 level, you should bid the other major. So 1 no, 2 clubs, 2 hearts, 3 spades. 3 spades should be showing an unbalanced slam try in hearts with some unspecified shortness. And then you can actually use the 3 no bid there, because you're never going to play 3 no when you've established a fit there. You can use 3 no to ask for what your partner's shortness is, which is pretty useful. And then your partner shows you that shortness with what are called LMH responses, low, middle, high. So 4 clubs is the lowest suit, clubs, then you got diamonds, and then 4 hearts would be the other major, because with hearts, that's how you would show spade shortness, which I think is pretty useful. Now, you could do the same exact thing if your partner responded with spades over Stayman. 1 no, 2 clubs, 2 spades, 3 hearts. 3 hearts has no other meaning, so why not make it an unbalanced slam try in spades? And the cool thing about 3 hearts being the unbalanced slam try in spades over 3 spades is, guess what? You have an extra bid available to you, because you now have 3 spades available. And now with 3 spades available, you can show 2 different types of hands to your partner. With 3 spades, you can show that you have a minimum. You've opened a minimal no trump, and that you may not be interested in slam. And if you were to bid 3 no instead, you're showing a maximal hand, and you definitely have interest. And then they can still respond with their shortness at the 4 level, like they would before. So you have that available to show those different types of hands. See, I am making sure every bid matters here. So I'm getting extra use out of that 3 spade bid to show a minimal versus a maximal. And if I'm going over everybody's heads right now, because I see the chat is pretty dead, don't worry, this will be in the notes, and you can always ask me questions. I'm sorry for rambling, but that's just what I end up doing when I start talking. So that's that. Now, the other situation is when you have a slam try, but you don't have an unbalanced hand. That's kind of well, I wouldn't say always BZ, because when we start talking about 2 over 1, you're going to hear about fast arrival, where you're going to jump to show the weaker hand. But in that situation, I think it's better, or I don't really think it makes a difference, honestly, to show minimal versus maximal. It's not like you're not stopping short of the 4 level. So I don't really see a difference between that. You could certainly swap those two, and it probably wouldn't make a difference, but that's just my thinking. Does 3 no have meaning? It shouldn't. I mean, I guess it should. It should have meaning. It really depends if you guys play like non-serious or serious slam tries. Like if you play non-serious, you could probably use 3 no there as a non-serious slam try, or serious depending on how you play 3 no. I think that's like the only use for it though. So what do I do over 1 no, 2 clubs, 2 spades, 3 hearts, 3 spades? Well, um, if I'm still interested in looking for slam, despite the fact that my partner showed me a minimum, I would still show my shortness beginning with 4 clubs, low, middle, high. I would still show it if I was still interested, despite my partner showing me a minimal hand. And if I wasn't interested, I would just sign off. So, I would still show the shortness if I was. I would still bid 4 clubs to show club shortness and so on and so forth. So, the balanced slam try. Now, the option that you have to show a balanced slam try after that is to jump to 4 diamonds. Now, you might be saying, well, why not 4 clubs? Well, despite what Mr. ATC says, and despite what VreemD passes, I am still kind of pro Gerber over here. And I think having 4 clubs as Gerber there is very useful, so that if you don't get beyond the 4 level if you don't have the right number of key cards. So I use 4 clubs as Gerber there generally. So I'm not going to reserve that for a balanced slam try. I'm going to use 4 diamonds for a balanced slam try because whatever. What else could it be? I mean, you're not going to have that bid for anything else. So 1 no, 2 clubs, 2 hearts or 2 spades, and then jumping to 4 diamonds should be a balanced slam try. And then your partner, can show you, if your partner has a min, they can sign off, and if they have a max, they can initiate like key card, and you can be on your way to potentially looking for a slam there. I don't use that bid very often. It's a bid that could definitely be forgotten by your partner if you're not on the same page. So tread with caution there, but that's what that should mean, I think. Okay, so I talked about slam tries. I talked about the 2 spade versus 2 no variant, the caveat. I talked about my different types of Stayman. And yeah, we talked about Gerber too soon. I'm still not over it. I'm still salty about it. And I think I have covered what I wanted to for this session. So, I know there's still a lot on this convention card, which obviously means there's still a lot to talk about. Trust me, there is. This is going to be a long series because, guess what? Bidding is a science. And you don't learn a science very quickly. It takes time and it takes care. So, I am going to continue. I don't know how often I should do this. I think I could do it weekly, but I think weekly is too long. If it would take forever if I made this only weekly. So what I'm going to recommend, and let me see if my fellow students, attendees, so to say, are down. I think 2 times a week is probably a good thing. So I'm thinking Fridays and let's see. Maybe Mondays. Mondays is probably the second best day of the week for me, if it's a day of the week. The weekends work well, but nobody wants them to be bunched together like that. I think it takes time to digest this stuff. So I'm going to try to make it Mondays and Fridays. If I can't do it, I won't, but I'm going to try to stick to that schedule as much as possible. I might have to change the time on Monday because if it's work and it's running later, I can't guarantee 5, but I'll do my best. So I'm going to have notes on this. I've already taken them, and I'm going to share them in my Discord. If you haven't joined my Discord, you can do that with the Discord command, and it'll all be there. I have a channel on there, the bidding channel, where I'm going to be sharing this material. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them there, and I will address them as soon as I can. But anyways, I think this was a successful start to the bidding series. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys learned, because I like to talk, obviously. And I think it's useful to talk about bidding because it's it's full of excellence. Yes, yes, yes. I'm glad that didn't fire off the command, by the way. I'm looking forward to continuing on this series. I think it's going to be a while, but you're going to get a lot of use out of it. And I think it's good to talk about this because I can refine my card with my viewers as I continue to start playing with more viewers. And we can get some good common bidding principles in place. Oh, you misspelled it. I didn't notice that. Good. Stop it, Turtle, or I'm banning you forever. Just kidding. I love you. Okay. That's the stopping point for now. If you came for just this series and you found me from Reddit, I'm going to be continuing. I'm going to continue streaming for a while because it's Friday. Yes, sir. And we're going to be hanging out for a while. So I'm going to share these notes. If you're not interested in for anything other than bidding, that's cool. But